Welcome to Catapult Leaders Conversation with Leaders. Listen and take notes as Catapult Leaders CEO Daryl Mobley chats with David Thomas about developing your vision and career goals. David Thomas is Chairman and CEO of Scarlet Imaging LLC.
I am excited today to have a chance to talk with David Thomas. He can share information with all the listeners that can really help them. And today, specifically, I want to talk about how a college graduate or recent graduate can establish a vision for their future and set career goals. And it's so important to have a vision, I believe that, and so important to set career goals. So Dave, are you ready?
I am ready.
Perfect, man. Fantastic. You always are ready. Here's my first question to you. What does have a vision for your future mean to you?
So, in my opinion, a vision for one's future is the most critical part of how we set the course of our lives and how we manage our days. It begins with you and you only creating your vision statement. It should be both inspirational and idealistic and define how you wish to be known, like your personal brand in terms of how folks talk about themselves in today's environment. I've always been a fan of Covey's 7 Habits as a framework to create the statement and then to move to a more granular focus to chart your daily activities to meet and or exceed your career goals and personal performance milestones. You, not someone else, must execute the discipline of having a vision statement to know where you're going in all aspects of your life to truly be successful. Without it, you heavily reduce your chances for success. Quite frankly, it's the boilerplate for your plans, both short-term and long-term, and will surely be adjusted as your career ebbs and flows. So let me give you kind of an example. My core vision statement is something like this. I will always seek to be the best at whatever I do and put in the work, seek out mentoring, nurture relationship building, be in a continuous learning mode, and provide leadership necessary to get there. Moreover, I will always act with integrity and never compromise that virtue. Family comes first. Focus on what I call be here now. It's a principle I learned through a management consulting company called Sin Delaney. And it allows you to construct balance in your life. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that, because you're always going to be balancing a lot of balls with this vision and this path that you want to take. And it changes as you go through different phases of your life. But an example is you're a parent, you come home, you have small kids, they want to play with you. And what usually happens is you tell the kid, go sit down and I'll come and play with you. Well, Sid Delaney says the following: be here now means, okay, Johnny, Susie, give me 10 minutes. Daddy or mommy needs to just change and do a few things. And then after that, we're going to play whatever it is that the child likes to do. But the issue is once you commit to that, you must deliver. If you don't, you're not worth the words that come out of your mouth. And so it is a critical skill for all components of your life that's be here now, even with your own employees. If you have something going on, you can tell them, give me 10 minutes, I'll be right with you. And then at that time, you put away all other things to either sit there and listen to them if you're a mentor, or you're a project that you're working on, you're spending their time exclusively with them and not to be disturbed. So I'll close with, you really need to have a vision plan. You can't get where you want to without it, no matter what you decide you want to be. History suggests great vision is a hallmark of all great leaders.
You mentioned you have to have a vision statement, correct? That's what you said?
Yes, you must.
No problem. Do you have any other tips about doing a vision statement? Is there anything it must have or shouldn't have or that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So that's why I like the Covey habits framework
Mm-hmm.
because it helps you ask yourself the right questions. It allows you time to think about things and figure out what's important to you, because a vision statement is only the value that you place on it, not what others place on it, because you're activated by what your own goals are. And
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people, and I say this over and over again, that you go and do the things that you're most passionate about, and you plot a course to enjoy those things that you most enjoy, whether it's with your job or family, etc. I do believe in this vision statement that it cannot be myopic. It has to include all phases of your life. How you, and again, that's why I like the Covey concept, because in those 7 principles, you got things like sharpen your saw. So look, you need to plan time to work out or do yoga or whatever it is that helps you relax. You need to plan time with your family. You need to plan time and structure your day at work so that you can get all of the things you need to get done. You also need to plan, and we'll talk about this as we talk through some of these things. You have to have a plan to be able to nurture those relationships you'll need down the road to help you get to where you want to get to. If you don't schedule it, it won't happen. If you don't have a plan for it, it won't happen. And so now, I'm also not saying you need to be like some robot either. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is, there's that old adage, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And the plan needs to be what works for you. Some people need to be more detailed on their calendar, and some just need, a broad stroke. Okay, so today I want to get such and such done. And that's good enough for them. They'll know they'll get it done and how they're going to do it. And they don't need, what am I doing 30 minutes from now, when I'm doing an hour from now, all those kinds of things. And so I believe the vision statement needs to be focused around your personality, what you need and what you want, not what someone tells you. You can't live your life based on what someone is telling you to do. You got to live it the way it works for you.
Okay. All right. Now, you have seen, beyond being one yourself, not that many years ago, you have seen a lot of young people, young folks starting in their careers over time. And is there one major, looking back now and analyzing under the prism of 2020 hindsight, is there one, or are there one or two key tips you'd give for helping those people in entry-level jobs, they're new, they're right out of college or whatever, to set a vision for their lives and their careers?
So that's an excellent question. And as I thought about this, I remember when I was a young lieutenant in the military, I actually read the bios in the Association of Graduates of all the generals who had graduated from West Point, because that's what I wanted to be, having grown up in a military family. There were patterns there that helped me guide what kind of assignments I wanted to have and the locations that seemed to be critical for success. I found it to be very helpful and pretty consistent in its positive outcomes for defining success. Thus, I suggest you research the careers of successful people in the field you wish to work in and what their success profile looks like and where these individuals worked. I mean, if a whole bunch of them you saw in your field worked at Procter & Gamble or J&J or something in your field, that might be a place that creates the kind of culture and learning that allows you to be competitive anywhere in your industry. But it can also include family, friends, and mentors you seek out. If possible, see if they may talk to you about what they did to manage their careers, their family lives, and what mistakes they made. Everybody's going to make mistakes. And how their work environment has changed since the beginning of their careers. Because in my case, I sort of bridged 2 different, what I call major tranches of business culture. When I first came in, we still had more command and control types of environments that were out of the Industrial Revolution. But now we live in the information age. And I decided to go and get my master's in business and leadership as a result of that, because the type of people you're around and the type of technologies and things you can and can't do are very different in that environment. And so, it makes sense to talk to these folks about, how they ebbed and flowed with their career. And having some of this knowledge can help you craft your vision statement even more effectively and confidently, and you'll get comfortable with the path you wish to take. And I want to mention again, keep in mind, as I said earlier, you most likely will adjust your vision as your life changes and ebbs and flows.
Well, you get smarter over time, right?
I totally agree.
Needs change, opportunities change. If life was totally predictable, there'd be no reason to live another day, right? We know what was coming. So those changes really cause us to have to reassess and sharpen our focus and change focus sometimes. So
yeah, I'll give you one other point on this, is that sometimes people can be resistant to constructive feedback and constructive criticism. And I think that is a piece that in the beginning, it's hard to accept that you're not right about everything. And as you mature in your life, in your role, you realize that if somebody really cares about you, and I use this as a term of leadership, it is a failure of leadership if you care about someone to not let them know, hey, look, that statement that you made about such and such, you may have been able to focus on a few different things on it, or you may have been able to present it in a way it didn't come across too pompous or bombastic. Or even doing such things as, hey, I noticed the other day that, and I know this can be quite we call challenging at times, is you talk to someone that they came in and they weren't dressed properly for the event or the occasion. That is a very difficult thing to do. A lot of people are very resistant to you telling them or suggesting that the way they presented themselves was not the way that's expected. And I talk more about this in terms of knowing the culture that you're in and understanding how you need to play the game there if you want to be successful.
You are listening to a Catapult Leaders podcast. For more information, visit catapultleaders.com.
So I always try and suggest that people reduce the chance of any stains on their brand or reputation. Just eliminate it, so that people focus on the positive things you're doing rather than remembering something really stupid you did, because that sticks in their mind. So take that off the table.
Yeah, very smart. Self-inflicted. What do they say? More games are lost than they're won, right? By things we do. So you have achieved a great deal of professional success. So congratulations to you on that. But I want to spin from that for a second. So given that you achieved that success, and again, now we can look back, and you're still achieving success. Now we can look back with that 2020 hindsight one more time. How important do you think career goals are for those who wish to achieve success as you've achieved success in corporate America?
Okay, so this is a good lead-in from the past question, because we sort of were talking about some of these things. But career goals, again, must be a central part of your vision planning and will adjust to whatever industry you're in and the position level you're in. As I mentioned, you should review the path of success with people who have the roles that you want to have. And one of the things that people are shy about, and certainly I found or have found this with women and minorities, they're shy about wanting to talk to them about it. You shouldn't be afraid to pull a senior executive aside and say, hey, Ms. Such and Such or Mr. Such and Such, I'd really like to learn more about how you got to be in the role you're in. And so sometimes they'll be very flattered to take you on. And there's some that are kind of resistant. They're not really people folks. And that's not somebody you want to have as your mentor anyway, because they won't spend the appropriate time. And so you'll find someone that you click with, but um, you you find a mentor you're comfortable with who can also help guide you and also champion your successes so that when you get there, you get where you want to be. Um, and this is a very personal decision that must work for you and your skills. And so you need to do what's right for you and not what someone wants for you. Focus on what you're most passionate about, as that is what you'll do best. And so I'll give you an example. I know based on my personality and skills that I am most comfortable being around people and my team members solving problems and not being locked in a sit down or computer work exclusively type of role. I would gut myself. And so I know when I'm talking to someone about what it is that I want to do and where I want to go, that the roles that I'm seeking are ones that are more driven by that. And it kind of gets back to what we were talking about with this corporate stuff. If in a corporate environment, you need to fully understand the culture and how to thrive in it, no matter what area you work in. Again, you will need a mentor, as I've said, to help you. So don't be shy. Seek a few key leaders out to have regular chats with. They can also provide cover when needed if something goes awry, as you will fail at something. We all do. So having this cover allows you the capability to have longevity in a company if you choose to stay there long term. And that's one of the things that we're not taught in many cases, depending on your family's background, that these are natural, positive engagements that you shouldn't be afraid of. And if you're shy, you need to figure out somebody who might be able to do, if you find, so, John over there, Willie over there is really like to meet you, sir, because they're interested in how, you might need a conduit, a friend. It could be, and I talked a little bit about, a fraternity brother or sorority sister or a friend from home, or it could be that you leverage a family member who knows that person, says, can you ask Wilhelmina Butler if she can talk to me about, being a VP in supply chain. Because if it works out right, they'll take a personal interest in you, and that's what you want. I found, and I'll give this a quick example. So I was in the military, I was in advertising, then moved in marketing with Burnett, and then moved in McDonald's. And as we were talking earlier, I had this personal board of directors. I went into another space when we sold Boston Market, and I was the chief operating officer. And I did that for a while, so I learned some other skills. But later on, the guy who was my mentor asked me to come back when McDonald's needed to do its turnaround. And so you never know when these alliances that you nurture come into play, and the timing of it was phenomenal. I had been recovering from cancer, and what happened was I started working in a private equity environment. Wasn't something that I enjoyed a lot. And during that time period, he calls me up and says, hey, I know what you're doing and understand that you're doing great with it. But if you don't like it, let me know, because I need you here with me. And so what I'm saying to you is that was the gap of time there was about 8 years, believe it or not. Wow. So what I'm saying to you is that do not be shy or afraid. You never know when it's going to come back into play in your favor. And you never know when you're going to need someone to be a bridge for you. And in fact, I'll talk about one of those bridges here in a bit, but you never know when someone is a bridge for you to get what you want. Okay.
Wow. I'm going to ask you, boy, I've done this a lot so far, but I think this is working because you're knocking it out of the park here. if you could go back in time and talk to yourself, if the you now could go back to the you in that first entry level job, maybe you're gonna start in that job in a few weeks or a few months or whatever. What advice would you give that person about setting career goals, and what career goals are there universal career goals that you go back and say, listen to me, you slap yourself upside the head, listen to me, I need you to set career goals. I need you to set career goals for this, and this. What might that be? Going back in time, the young Dave who's just started or about to start into that world that he does not know.
Okay, that's a pivotal question and a good one, and I'll try and give you my thoughts on it, and then give an example. And if I need to drill down a little more, you let me know. But I don't want to sound like a broken record. But in your first entry level job, you still must know what the career path looks like, because you can't set goals and objectives when you don't know what good looks like. And so these building blocks have to be well understood within the organization that you are moving to, as well as the timing necessary to hit those career goals. On top of that, if you already know someone in the company, they can be a great resource to help you set up your plan to be successful in the work area you're assigned to. And so don't be afraid. It's just something that you could be doing. You get an offer letter, and then, you might have, I don't know, could be a month or two, depending on where you are, you're getting out of business school or undergrad. Right. You might have some time in between. And so you may want to start asking questions about what does success look like in the role that you're doing, so that you can start preparing yourself. Mm-hmm. To be honest, I didn't know this when I began, as I had no one that had successfully navigated corporate America. I wish I had resources like Catapult Leaders. They have some insights as to how to at least get off to a great start. It's important to remember that you must take the lead in managing your career. And a very wise human resources manager told me the following: you are your own best personnel manager. No one can fully know what it is that you want, and no one can want it more than you. So you must take the lead in making it happen, and not blame anyone else for you not achieving your career goals. And I'll give you an example of, when I first got to in corporate environment, coming out of the military and having grown up in a complete lifespan of military, nothing else. I was walking into, I call foreign territory, as far as I was concerned. But my first corporate job was at Leo Burnett Advertising in Chicago. And I was fortunate, as you know, we both, we were aligned as partners as a P&G and a Burnett, we'll call it marketing basis. But I was fortunate to have key mentors to help me navigate my career. But I must note that their culture allowed it to happen. It was encouraged. I spoke to these mentors often about the roles and accounts I needed to be on in order to thrive in the culture, because they actually had very few minorities there. If you have some special skills or hobbies that are well received in the culture, it is a plus. You should leverage those. In my case, in fact, I was a fairly good golfer. At that time, I was about a 5 handicap, and I used that as a benefit to garner and even what I call expand and make wider my network of friends, because I was on accounts, and let's just say it was Fortune magazine or something, and I had to go to maybe to a scramble or something with them. You're on a team, you win the thing, and you're wanted to, you had the longest drive and closest to the pin and all those kinds of things. You're making friends not only amongst your own cadre of people, but outside of that, because they can also be another conduit for you to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have, these kind of opportunities, they can actually lead to outside things that you didn't think were eligible to you. So I'll give you an example of this as well, and where we're headed is that one of my mentors actually provided me with a growth opportunity. It was presented to him. He was a Chicagoite. He and his wife both worked at Burnett. They had no desire to ever move from Chicago. They both had grown up there, lived there, and would never consider moving. And he came to me and says, "Hey, I got offered to take a look at an opportunity that might work for you, because I know you're saying you want to go to the client side of
Mm-hmm.
marketing." And his overture to me and push to go in his place opened up the door for a career with McDonald's. It's kind of in two tranches, but a total of 20 years. And the point here is that, seek out support to achieve your career goals, because you never know where it's going to come from. And of course, you have to be open to these opportunities when they're put in front of you. They say luck is being prepared for the opportunity when it's presented to you. Well, I just happened to, at that time, the spouse I had wanted to get back to the East Coast. This role was in the East Coast. It was a role on the client side of marketing, and so it fit what I wanted to do. It was, McDonald's was spending $1 billion in advertising. Being over there in marketing was quite a really cool thing. So my point is that entry level only means that you're at a place where you're just a sponge and you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
But what we're trying to do now is leapfrog what we're saying to you about how to set yourself up early to be able to chart your career the way you want to do it without a lot of challenges. And as I said, I wish I had known that before, but I didn't. And I think it's a wonderful thing you're doing, Daryl, with your team to let folks talk about these things. Now, again, we can talk about them, but it takes initiative on your own to go and do these things. Nobody's going to do it for you. But again, be open to the possibility is the key headline here. Well,
on that, we will end this session here. Be open to the possibility. My goodness, that is a siren call about life. Be open to the possibility. And I love your stories because they gave it a beautiful highlight, because you talked about examples of how you looked out at the world and how you reached out to the world and how you then walk out to the world. Because, there's three parts of it. You can look out at it, then you got to reach out to it, but sometimes you got to get up and go to it. I mean, you got to just get up and go to it. And so your willingness to focus on the possibilities, to go to it, is remarkable and comes through very, very strongly on all the opportunities you talked about. And so when it comes to vision, the future, and career goals, I think if the folks who are listening to this I always say, pull out a pencil, pen, and paper, or whatever it is you got, however you keep notes, go back, listen to this thing multiple times, because there are a lot of nuances here, a lot of tips and strategies that if you just did a couple of them well, would change your professional life. And I want to thank you, Dave, for the time you've given us today. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You've listened to Catapult Leaders Conversation with Leaders. Special thanks to David Thomas.
Be sure and go to catapultleaders.com so that you can apply to the Catapult Leaders program if you are a college student or grad student or a recent graduate. If you are a company leader looking to up-level your company by hiring outstanding new employees, please go to catapultleaders.com and contact us. Let's go.